Welcome back to another recording of the Elevate Media Podcast. I'm Chris Anderson, your host, and today we're going to be diving into a topic that sometimes can be overlooked, not thought about, but is super important on your journey to build your business as an entrepreneur, and that is building a wealth mindset. So if you want to build wealth, if you want to have that rock solid wealth mindset, if you want to succeed when things get hard, this episode's for you. And I brought in an expert who can talk to this topic. Jason Schappert is on the show today. He is a serial entrepreneur. He's an investor, and he's a tech innovator. He's got some cool things going on. He's done some really great things. Found out in the green room with aviation online. Excited to dive into that a little bit. But Jason, welcome to the Elevate Media Podcast.
Thanks, Chris. Super excited to be here and chat with you beforehand. Really excited for this episode.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into it, especially like getting a little bit more of your backstory before we hit recording and everything. So, wealth mindset.
Yes.
Right? That could look like anything. But from your perspective, what does a wealth mindset even look like? Let's dive right into it there first.
I'm going to go back. You'll hear me talk about my parents a lot. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family.
Wow, okay.
And my dad always instilled in me, Jason, believing in you starts with you, right? No matter what they say, and trust me, a lot of people on your business journey are going to talk you down, talk you out of it. You need to save for a rainy day. You need to build the security. You need to don't take risks. You could get hurt, right? And those are the myths and the things we have to break in order to take that step. And, some people call it a leap. And I understand for some people listening to this, it may be a leap. You're leaving a great career in IT or whatever it is. And this is my dream. I always wanted to start this business or whatever it is. But while it could be a leap for many of you, sometimes it's just putting one foot in front of the other, right? Jim Collins talks about in the book, Good to Great, about the 1,000,000-mile march. People want to try to run across the United States. He says, no, you don't do that. You go 10 miles every single day, and you do it at a steady pace, rain, snow, hot, cold, it doesn't matter. 10 miles every single day, one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, I love that. And, it's crazy. So at the time of recording this, just a couple of days ago, this weekend, I ran a marathonic.
Good for you.
I've run multiple. My wife says it's going to catch up to me because I don't train for it.
Right.
And this isn't to say, again, that I'm some great athlete because, my pace was average. But to the point what you just said, like I ran the whole thing. Mm-hmm. I stayed a consistent pace and I finished. Close to actually my PR, which is crazy for not training at 33. I think I am right now. I lose track of age. But that's what it is. That's, entrepreneurship is taking that step forward. Hey, I haven't trained. I'm still going to do this one step at a time. And I kept telling myself, just one more step.
Yes.
One more step. I'm one more step closer. I'm one more step closer. Because at times it sucks. Like my legs started cramping.
Oh, man.
Like, my feet were hurting. It's like just one more step. You're one step closer. And that's what kind of ran through my mind during the race. And I found myself dealing with business too, is like, hey, you learned one new thing today. You got one more no today. You did get a new client today. Hey, one more person on your team, and just one step closer to the ultimate goal.
You're spot on. And to use another sports analogy, in the game of baseball, of course, if you want to make ESPN, you got to hit the home runs and everything else. Yeah. But at the end of the day, what wins baseball is base hits, singles, maybe the occasional double, but base hits and just moving around the bases, single by single, all the way around. Yes, the home runs make the news, and they do that in business. They do that on ESPN. They do that everywhere. Right. At the end of the day, base hits win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, to build that, wealth mindset, it takes time. It takes, what you're feeding yourself. Because you mentioned, you have people in your life who are, you have good intentions, right?
Sure.
For example, my parents. I love my parents. I have great parents. I'm super blessed for how they, raised me and how they support me. But they're still a little like, be careful kind of thing. Crypto. Recently, we're hearing about crypto because of, Trump taking over office, things like that. And so I've invested a little bit more. I've been following it.
I did as well yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, just be careful, because it could go down. I'm like, yeah, but it could go way up.
Right.
and stuff like that. So you got to be careful what you're allowing to sink into your mind as well, right?
Well, and it's all about who you surround yourself with. And you and I are of a similar age. So I would imagine most of your friends are probably older than you, right? If people are walking the walk and have the successful businesses and everything else, most of your friends are probably older than you because they've been there, done that. A lot of our friends in their 30s, or you go back to some of your high school buddies, like I don't even go to my high school reunions because it's like, I respectfully, like I don't want to go back there.
Right.
And everything else, like you have to surround yourself around the right people and make sure you're consuming the right things. This wealth mindset for me started very, very early. So I alluded to, I grew up, my parents were entrepreneurs. They're actually still to this day in the pest control business. So I grew up at 12 years old, killing bugs with dad. And we grew up a pest control worker's salary, right? Yes, he was a business owner, but for the early years, he kind of just made himself a job. So we were like, when we first moved to Florida, we lived in a motel for the first few months. Like when I say broke, we were broke. Yeah. We worked our way up a little bit. But the greatest thing I learned doing pest control with dad is dad had very wealthy clients, and he had very, we'll just say, stuck in poverty, right? The trap, the rat race of poverty type clients. And I remember walking in these, in my mind, mansions. I'm thinking, I want this. So in my mind, take a note and say, okay, what do wealthy people do differently? I would go in their office and go, oh, they've got books everywhere. They have very few TVs and a ton of books. I'm like, okay, I'm taking note of this. And again, this is 20 years ago.
Right.
I'm going, okay, so clearly to be successful, I got to read a lot of books. So this is back like, Sony Walkman days on cassette, and then later CDs and stuff that would skip. And I would go to the public library. I'm listening to Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, John Maxwell, like this kind of stuff on cassette and CD, Tony Robbins. And just, I was that weird 12, 13, 14-year-old kid when everyone else is playing video games, and I'm doing Tony Robbins' Personal Power. And it's like, Jason's a little strange.
Awesome. Yeah.
But sometimes that's what it takes. You've got to be a little bit different.
Yep. Yeah. And it can be hard because I know you mentioned surrounding yourself with people. And I have some friends, Bible study group at church, which is great. Love those guys. They're awesome. Support. But as far as business goes, like I would say I have very few friends who are either where I'm at or where I want to get to. I have a couple, my brother's a great mentor, which is awesome to have. But there's very few. No, man, I did it again. I don't know why this does this.
I've done that before.
Pauses me for a second. This happened last time too. I talk with my hands too much.
You can, you're on a Mac, I assume?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
See if I can come back.
There you go.
Frozen.
You're out. No, I'm here.
Do you see me?
No, I don't see you though. It's all black.
Okay, yeah. I need to get rid of this stupid.
If you're on Apple, you can turn it off. I had to do the same thing. It's a pain.
I need to do that. Last time this happened, it kicked us off, and we came back in the room, and it was still recording. So hopefully, no
problem. We're only 8 minutes in. If not, it's all good.
Yeah. Where would that be?
I want to make sure I turned mine off. Here I'm telling you to turn it off. Make sure I actually turned mine off and listened.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to leave and come back. It should also.
I'll hang out here and we'll see what happens. If not, I'll just jump right back in.
Okay. Cool.
Nice. Good job.
Thanks. Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out where that is to turn off, but I don't know where we left off. But you're talking about people, your brother, etc., friends. Okay.
Yeah. So, there's very few that I really have that, I'm close with that are where I'm at in business or where I want to go. My brother, super grateful to have him close. But other than that, I kind of am learning or connecting with people from afar. This podcast is a great thing, connecting with people like you and learning and things like that, but building relationships outside of that. I feel like it's a little difficult, but
yes,
I think what you mentioned about like listening, those CDs back in the day, now we can listen to podcasts and all that stuff. I think that's one of the best ways we can do it if we can actually get a relationship with those people that we want to be around.
Yeah, well said. And I've always been taught and tried to practice, you really need three types of friends, right? You need the people that you are working to pull higher, and that may be some of the guys in your Bible study group, like you mentioned, or whatever it is. You need friends on your level, and then you need the people also pulling you higher, right? It's so easy to find the ones that you want to pull higher, and oftentimes it's even easy to find those that pull you higher, right? You find these people like, oh, I want to be mentored by them or whatever that may be, but finding the ones on your level, that can be challenging sometimes. And sometimes it takes a little bit of humility as well with that. So it is a challenge, and then it has to be purposeful, right? Yes, I went through a season where I just drowned myself in books and everything else, but at the end of the day, we still have to have that connection. You still have to have that back and forth, and don't discount just because somebody is in a totally different industry. One of my greatest mentors is actually a very successful dairy farmer, believe it or not. You think, oh, okay, Jason, you sold an aviation business, you're building a fintech, and you get mentored by a dairy farmer? And you're like, yeah, guy's been through 3 IPOs, like very, very successful from that standpoint. So don't always look at what this person does, or certainly not how they dress or anything like that, as to the level of their success, because you'll find some of the most successful people you know are the ones in the hoodie and everything else that you wouldn't even realize.
Yeah. I think more effort to find those people, which, you have to balance time and family and things to be able to do that. So, but I think it's definitely, and social media can help us, I think, mitigate some of that, finding those people, which is great. And, it is, one, it makes it more fun because you have someone that you can actually talk to, and bounce ideas off of, or when it's a struggle, like they can help motivate you kind of thing, or lift you up, whatever it might be. So I think, part of that wealth mindset is the people who feed into you.
Yes.
So it's super important to find those. And you mentioned right there, when we kind of mentioned it, alluded to it at the beginning, was your aviation business career. Dive into what was that exactly? And I'd love to kind of break down a little bit of your journey and how you overcame to get to a wealth mindset, because I know it wasn't easy to get where you are now.
Sure. So it was aviation education. We are the largest provider of aviation test preparation for pilots. From you want to fly drones, you want to be an airline pilot one day. We created the books, the videos, the curriculum, sold it B2C, sold it B2B as well to large aviation colleges, everything else. And very, very blessed. I'm a flight instructor, as is my wife. We love teaching and everything else pertains to that. But my dream actually was to be a military aviator. I wanted to fly fast. You can't, watch Top Gun and not thinking about signing up for the Navy or the Air Force. So I wanted to fly the F-15E for the Air Force. But I know we're sitting down now, but if we met in person, I'm actually too tall to them, 6'4", and they have a height cutoff to fly any of the fun stuff. So, okay, so that kind of killed those dreams. I'll go be an airline pilot. I thought, while travel sounds fun, I was married young and everything else, and just thought that's not a lifestyle for a conducive marriage, and everything else, always gone, always somewhere different. I love this teaching thing. How can I make money teaching? And this is back, listen to same Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn teaching, you have to get leverage in your business. And I'm thinking, okay, leverage in my business, like it's Jason and an airplane. Like, how do I get leverage? I guess leverage is more flight instructors, more airplanes. I'm thinking in my head, I'm 18, 19 years old at this point. I'm going, this is a capital intensive business. No bank's going to give me a loan or anything like that, at 18 years old to go do this sort of stuff. So about this time, this little company called GoPro was spooling up, and another little company called YouTube was fresh out of the garage, starting to gain some momentum, not owned by Google just yet. And I put those two things together and said, I wonder if I can put these GoPro cameras in my airplane and act as if Chris was sitting next to me. Like, so if you were doing a lesson with me, you would actually sit in the pilot seat in the left seat. I sit in the co-pilot seat, the right seat. So I began sitting in the right seat, leaving the left seat empty, which looks a little strange when you're flying around. But I put the cameras in the left seat as if Chris was there at eye view, filmed everything, and began to upload them to YouTube. Realized we were kind of onto something, began to put those videos behind a paywall. And it really kind of grew from there. And that became the leverage. Instead of buying more airplanes, hiring more people, using the power of the internet, and back to the mindset thing, I told people, I'm going to teach people to fly on the internet. And I got laughed at. I got kicked out of airports. I got all sorts of things that people said to me that just cannot be done. And there was some times where I thought about believing them,
Right.
but you have to believe in your vision, believe in your dreams. Now, to that point, you can't also just, block out all negativity and say, no, I'm never thinking about any of this. Like, you do have to, is there any truth to what this person is saying, is how I approach that. And by the way, that is true of even our social media comments. And I know you deal with this every day too. Like,
Right.
you get that hater, that mean person or whatever it is. And I say, okay, I'll look at this and say, before I remove this one or ban this person,